Soft piano under a faint crowd murmur. Papers rustle. A pen clicks. Eleanor. They laughed when I signed the papers. All of them. Laura's laugh was sharp, the kind that cuts more than it comforts. David tried to hide his smirk behind a cough. Even the grandchildren were whispering, asking if Grandma's going to live with old people now? Laura. Mom, are you sure you don't want me to read that first? It's a lot of legal stuff, you know. Eleanor. Quiet smile. I can still read, darling. I just can't unread what life's already shown me. Pen scratches the final signature. David. Mock joking. Well, guess this is official then. You're moving into Rosewood, huh? Don't worry, Laura. Maybe they'll let us use her room for storage. They laugh. Camera closes on Eleanor's face. Calm, composed. Eleanor. They think I'm leaving, but I'm just moving closer. Mr. Caldwell, the lawyer, slides the folder shut with care. Mr. Caldwell. Everything's in order, Mrs. Hale. We'll see to your comfort at Rosewood. Eleanor. I trust you will. It's a fine place. Feels like home already. Her tone carries a secret weight. Caldwell meets her eyes, almost understanding. Eleanor, they saw an old woman signing her freedom away. What they missed was the way the walls themselves seemed to bow when my name touched the paper. Transition sound. Cutlery clinking, low conversation, warm lighting. Eleanor. That night, before I left, Laura insisted on one last family dinner. Roast chicken, red wine, and cruelty. All served hot. Laura. Mom, you'll love it there. They have art classes, movie nights, even a garden. You always said you liked flowers. Eleanor. Yes. Flowers remind me that beauty fades and returns every spring. David. Just make sure you don't spend too much on extras, okay? Those places charge for every breath you take. Laura. Oh, David. Mom's fine. She's got plenty stacked from Dad's business, right, Mom? Eleanor. Gentle. Your father worked hard so none of us would worry about money. Pity how people forget who built the walls around them. A brief silence. Laura sips wine, pretending not to hear. Laura. Changing subject. We'll visit when we can. The kids have school, David's got work, but you'll be fine, right? Eleanor. Of course. I've been fine alone for years. This won't be any different. Eleanor. They gossiped about inheritance between bites of food. About the old house, the jewelry, the stocks, as if I were already gone. I watched them laugh and realized something. It wasn't that they wanted my things. They wanted to watch me lose them. Camera focuses on her fingers tapping the table, ring glinting in candlelight. David. Half drunk. Hey, Laura, maybe we should renovate Mom's place once she's settled. New paint, open the space up. Wouldn't hurt the value, right? Laura. David, please. Eleanor. No, he's right. It wouldn't hurt the value. But some things lose value the moment greed touches them. She sets down her fork softly. The sound echoes louder than the laughter. Eleanor, I didn't argue, I didn't defend, because silence sometimes is the loudest answer. The piano fades to a single note and we hold on Eleanor's calm, unreadable smile. Transition sound. A low thunder roll, rain tapping on glass. The scene fades from the dinner table to Eleanor's bedroom, lit by a single lamp. Eleanor, that night, sleep refused to visit me. Every laugh at dinner echoed like footsteps in an empty hallway. When silence finally came, it brought someone else with it. Richard. Rain intensifies. Eleanor sits on the edge of her bed, holding an old photograph of her late husband. Eleanor. Softly. Remember when you said business partners are just smiles with knives? Richard, you were right. Camera shifts to flashback. 10 years earlier, a younger Eleanor watching Richard in his office, voice tense on the phone. Richard. You promised me, Blake. We built this company together. You can't just sell it out from under me. Pause. Don't talk to me about majority shares. I trusted you. He slams the receiver. Eleanor steps forward. What happened? Richard. They voted me out. Every one of them. The company, Hale Constructions, it's gone. Eleanor. But it's your name on the door. Richard. Not for long. I signed the wrong paper at the wrong time. They own the name, not the man. Eleanor. Voice trembling. Then we start again. We've done it before. Richard. Weak smile. Maybe you will, but I won't have the time. He coughs hard, a folded document sliding from his desk. Private holdings. Narrator, VO. 3 weeks later, a stroke took him. He died with those papers on his desk, his final gift and his warning. Eleanor, to herself, present day, I made you a promise that night, Richard. I would protect what's ours, even if I had to protect it from our own blood. She places the photo back into its frame, eyes glinting with both tears and resolve. Transition sound. Ticking clock, soft ambiance, paper sliding. Narrator, Eleanor. VO. A week after the funeral, I visited Mr. Caldwell, not as a widow seeking sympathy, but as a woman building walls around a kingdom. Mr. Caldwell. Mrs. Hale, I'm sorry for your loss. Richard trusted me a great deal. How can I help you today? Eleanor. By trusting me the same ways he did. I want to secure everything under my name. Every remaining share, property, and investment Richard left. Quietly. Mr. Caldwell. Quietly? Eleanor. Yes. No trust funds, no family access. I'll make sure Laura and David are comfortable while I'm alive, but they'll never own a thing they didn't earn. Mr. Caldwell. That's a difficult structure, Mrs. Hale. It means separate entities, hidden ownership chains. People will wonder why. Eleanor, leaning forward. Then let them wonder. Build me a mirror maze so clear that they'll see their own reflection when they try to find me. He studies her, realizing she's not the grieving widow everyone expected. Mr. Caldwell, slowly. I can create holding companies. One could even own the nursing home Richard invested in years ago, Rosewood Care. You could transfer the controlling shares to your personal entity. Eleanor, do it. Everything must stay under my name. Quietly. A pause. The sound of a pen signing echoes just like in the opening scene. Narrator, VO. And that was the day my invisible empire was born. A widow on paper. A queen in shadow. Mr. Caldwell, forgive me for asking, but why the secrecy? You could enjoy your retirement openly. Eleanor, because power isn't safe in the light, Mr. Caldwell. It's protected in the dark, where no one knows you still hold the keys. He nods, slides the documents towards her. Mr. Caldwell, then you hold them now, Mrs. Hale. Eleanor, I always did. A beat of silence, then a phone rings somewhere in the office. She glances toward the window. The city lights glow like gold coins. Narrator, Eleanor VO. They thought my husband left me a business. He left me blueprints for revenge. Fade out with the sound of rain easing and piano returning, slow and resolute.
The car door shuts with a dull thud, and Eleanor Hale stands before the tall, vine-wrapped gates of Willow Creek residence. The air smells faintly of lavender and something colder, like polished marble after rain. Mrs. Hale? A woman in soft gray uniform appears, early 40s, kind smile, but eyes too sharp for her kindness. Her name tag reads Nurse Clara. Eleanor nods, clutching her leather bag. Yes, Eleanor Hale. I, believe you were expecting me? Clara's smile widens, almost reverent. Of course, ma'am. We've been preparing your room. That tone, not the chirpy, rehearsed tone of hospitality, but something weightier, as though she's greeting someone important. Eleanor feels it, but says nothing. Inside, the hall is quiet, too quiet for a nursing home. No TVs blaring, no laughter from nurses, no crying residents, just the soft ticking of a distant clock. A man in a crisp suit approaches. Not a doctor, not a nurse. Mrs. Hale, he greets, bowing his head slightly. Welcome to Willow Creek. I am Mr. Rourke, the house administrator. She raises an eyebrow. Administrator? Quite formal for a retirement home. He chuckles softly. We like to keep things organized. He gestures toward the corridor. This way, please. You'll find we take exceptional care of our residents and our investors. That word, investors, hangs in the air like a secret only half revealed. They walk through the corridor. Behind glass doors, elderly people sit in silence, reading, knitting, some staring out windows as if waiting for something that never comes. Each time Eleanor passes, heads turn. A few nod faintly, as if in acknowledgement. One whispers, "She's back." Eleanor pauses. What did she say? Clara's smile doesn't falter. "Oh, they talk to themselves sometimes, dear. Don't mind them." But Eleanor isn't convinced. Later that evening in her room, she unpacks quietly. Her fingers brush over an old photograph, her late husband, Henry Hale, the man who built their empire and lost it all in betrayal. She whispers, "We started everything together, didn't we, Henry? Even this." Her phone buzzes. It's Laura, her daughter. Eleanor's jaw tightens before answering. "Hello, darling?" "Finally! I was just checking if you made it alive. How's the palace for the forgotten rich?" Eleanor dryly, "Cozy enough. The walls don't talk yet." Laura laughing, "Give them time. Anyway, Dad's old lawyer called again, something about transferring those shares before—" Eleanor interrupting, "Tell him it's handled. Everything stays as it is." Laura, "Mom, you don't need all that control anymore. You're 80. You should—" Eleanor interrupting again, "Be quiet enough for let vultures pick at my will?" Silence. Then Laura sighs, her tone shifting. "You always think the worst of us." "No, dear, I think exactly of you." There's another silence, then faintly, laughter. Laura's, mixed with a man's voice in the background. Eleanor strains to hear. Man, muffled, "Once she's settled, we can talk to the realtor." Laura, whispering, "Not now." Eleanor, "What realtor, Laura?" The line goes dead. Eleanor stares at the screen until it dims, her reflection flickering back, small, old, but not broken. She slides the phone aside, reaches into her bag and pulls out a folded envelope stamped with her attorney's seal. Her fingers tremble not from weakness, but anticipation. Eleanor to herself, let them sell what they never owned. Outside her door, Nurse Clara's voice drifts softly. "Everything's prepared, ma'am. The East Wing is ready when you are." Eleanor frowns. East Wing? But by the time she opens the door, the hallway is empty. The secret within the walls, 12 o'clock to 400 hours. The night settles heavy over Willow Creek. The corridors hum faintly with the sound of air vents and the distant clink of metal trays. Inside her room, Eleanor Hale sits by the lamp, her reading glasses sliding down her nose, a faint glow washing over stacks of old letters and photographs spread across her table. The envelope from her attorney lies open, papers crisp, seals intact. She reads every word again, lips moving silently as if reciting a prayer she's repeated 1,000 times. Then she lifts a small photo frame, a family picture taken years ago. Her late husband stands tall beside her, Laura smiling too widely for a girl who'd already learned to lie. Behind the glass, the photo feels heavier than it should. She flips it over. A thin line of glue cracks. Inside, folded tight and yellowed with age, lie the real documents, property deeds, share certificates, power of attorney, all still in Eleanor Hale's name. She exhales slowly, a whisper escaping her lips. Eleanor to herself, "You wanted to bury me in this place, Laura, but I buried my fortune first." She slides the papers back inside, sealing the frame again, and returns it carefully to the nightstand beside her bed. Moments later, there's a soft knock. "Eleanor? Come in." The door opens. Nurse Clara steps in, holding a tray of tea. "Couldn't sleep, Mrs. Hale?" Eleanor, "Old habits. My husband used to say, sleep is for the satisfied." Clara, smiling faintly, "Wise man." Clara places the tray down and lingers. There's something unspoken in her eyes, something that makes Eleanor put her glasses aside. Eleanor, "You know who I am, don't you?" Clara, "We all do, ma'am." Eleanor, leaning forward, "Then tell me why the charade? The administrator, the silence, the strange respect. Clara, because this isn't a nursing home, Mrs. Hale. Eleanor, no? Clara, this is your property. Every brick, every inch. You founded Willow Creek through your husband's estate years ago under a private holding. It's been operational in your name ever since. Eleanor's pulse quickens. Eleanor, I thought Henry's holdings were dissolved. Clara, no ma'am, they were hidden. By your attorney's orders, you've owned this place all along. Eleanor leans back, realization washing over her like a slow storm. Eleanor, so when my family brought me here, Clara, they brought you home. Clara's voice softens, almost reverent. Welcome home, Mrs. Hale, our real owner. The words echo in the stillness. Eleanor's lips twitch into a faint, knowing smile. For the first time in years, her hands stop trembling. Eleanor, then let's keep it that way. Quietly. Clara nods and placing the teacup beside her, whispering before leaving, everything's already being recorded, ma'am, as per your instructions. Eleanor watches her leave, then turns toward the nightstand. The photo frame glints under the lamplight, her secret safe behind smiling faces. Eleanor softly, let them play their game. The board still belongs to me. The night hums quietly again, but now every sound feels different, purposeful, alive, because this isn't a nursing home anymore. It's her fortress. The walls have ears, 1600 to 2000 hours. The next morning, light drifts through the blinds, soft, pale, and cold. Eleanor Hale sits in her armchair, dressed neatly as always, sipping tea with a calmness that hides the storm brewing under her eyes. She knows this silence now. It's the kind that precedes betrayal. Across the hallway, laughter trickles from the visitors' lounge. Her daughter Laura's voice slices through the murmur. Light, careless, sharp. Eleanor presses a discreet button under her desk. A small drawer slides open, revealing a compact monitor hidden behind a stack of books. The screen flickers to life. 6 camera feeds appear: hallways, garden, visitor area, and the lounge. Laura and her daughter Daniel sit close together, their heads bowed and speaking in low tones. Daniel, we'll list the house this month. Once she's settled here permanently, there's no point in keeping that old place. Laura, shrugging her shoulders. It's not like she'll notice. She barely remembers what day it is. Daniel, smirking. Good. We sell the property, pay off our debts, and move out of this miserable city. She's got no power left. Caldwell already said everything's been transferred. Laura, are you sure? Daniel, positive. The old woman's got nothing left to her name but memories. Eleanor's hand trembles slightly, the teacup clinking against the saucer. She leans closer to the screen, eyes narrowing. Her voice is barely a whisper. You think I'm powerless, don't you? She watches as Laura tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, laughing lightly, the same careless laugh she used at her father's funeral. The memory flashes in her mind, Laura smiling beside Daniel while condolences poured in. That smile had always been her warning, the mask before the knife. Her eyes drift to the corner of her room, to the small wooden chest beneath the window. She unlocks it and pulls out a leather-bound ledger, edges worn and faintly scented of dust and perfume. Each page is lined with transactions, hidden accounts, silent transfers, and property trusts, all untouched, all still hers. Eleanor murmuring, everything must stay under my name, quietly. She closes the ledger, her lips forming a faint, almost dangerous smile. The phone beside her rings, a gentle chime that breaks the silence. She picks up. Yes? Receptionist. Mrs. Hale, your daughter and son-in-law are leaving. Shall I ask if you'd like to say goodbye? No, dear. Let them go. Very well. Eleanor places the receiver down softly, eyes still on the monitor. Laura and Daniel are walking out, their silhouettes shrinking as they head for the door. Eleanor to herself. Let them sell what they think is mine. Let them plan. I've always built my home on foundations they'll never find. She presses another button. a hidden switch behind the lamp. The monitor changes view, now showing the Old Hale residence, her house, they're about to sell. The feed zooms in on the front gate, a for sale board being nailed into the soil by an agent. Her reflection stares back from the screen, calm, poised, and quietly powerful. You should have learned, Laura. A Hale never leaves her home, she expands it. A faint smile tugs at her lips, cold, proud, and heartbroken all at once. The board outside her house flutters in the wind, but behind those walls, every brick and every deed still whisper her name. And inside Willow Creek, behind the curtains of quiet rooms and empty smiles, Eleanor Hale sits, no longer the old woman they pitied, but the hidden queen of the empire they thought was gone. The days pass like whispers through marble corridors. To the untrained eye, Eleanor Hale appears to be nothing more than an aging widow, quietly fading into her twilight years. Her hair silver and neatly brushed, her cardigan buttoned just right, her smile polite and constant. She moves through Willow Creek nursing estate like a ghost of grace. But behind those calm eyes, a storm is forming, deliberate and deadly. She spends her mornings in the sunroom by the telephone, knitting soft wool into endless scarves. The nurses think it's her hobby, a way to pass time. What they don't know is that beneath the folds of her yarn sits a wired receiver connected to the estate's central switchboard, a quiet recorder she'd linked using her Old Hale Foundation access codes. Every conversation that filters through that line, every whisper, every transaction, every fake term of endearment from her children, all of it hums through her knitting needles like the faint rhythm of a coming war. Eleanor mutters softly, as though speaking to the ghost of her husband. "You taught me to survive in boardrooms, Henry," she says, eyes narrowing. "Now I'll survive in silence." Her daughter Laura calls often, pretending to care. The tone always sweet at first, the kind of sweetness that tastes like poison if left too long. "Mother," Laura chirps through the receiver, "are they treating you well there? You sound tired." Eleanor replies, her voice soft but steady. "Just resting, dear. The quiet does me good." What Laura doesn't know is that beneath the folds of her yarn sits a wired receiver connected to the state's central switchboard, a quiet recorder she'd linked using her Old Hale Foundation access codes. Every conversation that filters through that line, every whisper, every transaction, every fake term of endearment from her children, all of it hums through her knitting needles like the faint rhythm of a coming war. Eleanor mutters softly, as though speaking to the ghost of her husband. "You taught me to survive in boardrooms, Henry," she says, eyes narrowing. "Now I'll survive in silence." Her daughter Laura calls often, pretending to care. The tone always sweet at first, the kind of sweetness that tastes like poison if left too long. "Mother," Laura chirps through the receiver, "are they treating you well there? You sound tired." Eleanor replies, her voice soft but steady, "Just resting, dear. The quiet does me good." What Laura doesn't know is that every word is being recorded, stored under Eleanor's encrypted folder, Hale Estates Secure. The system hums quietly, blinking red. Another call saved, another piece of ammunition. A few days later, Laura visits in person, perfume thick, smile thin. She carries herself like a woman who has already inherited everything she touches. "Mother," she says, air kissing Eleanor's cheek, "you look comfortable." Eleanor returns the gesture, hiding her disgust behind the grandmother's warmth. "Comfort suits me, dear. I was never good at chaos." Laura looks around the room, her gaze lingering on the soft furniture, the antique photo frames, the air of quiet privilege that even the nursing home cannot erase. "You've done well for yourself, considering." Eleanor chuckles softly, "Considering you've already started dividing the spoils." Laura feigns a laugh. "Oh, Mother, don't be dramatic." Eleanor smiles again. That same unsettlingly calm smile. Then she reaches for a neatly wrapped box beside her chair. "You always loved designer purses, didn't you? I found this one in my old closet. You used to beg me for it." Laura raises a brow, curiosity overtaking arrogance. She unwraps the box, revealing a rich leather purse. Vintage, elegant, valuable. Laura smirks. Still clinging to your old things, mother? Some old things never lose value, Eleanor says quietly. She watches her daughter's fingers trace the bag stitching, completely unaware that inside the lining sits a pinhole camera linked to Eleanor's private network, a tiny eye connected through the nursing home's encrypted Wi-Fi. When Laura leaves, purse dangling proudly from her arm, Eleanor exhales slowly, her smile vanishing. "Smile for me, darling," she whispers to herself, "one last time." That evening, a visitor arrives. June Wallace, Eleanor's oldest friend, a woman whose sharp wit hasn't dulled with time. Silver curls frame her face, and her walking stick clicks softly against the marble floor. When the door closes behind her, the pretense drops. June lowers her voice, still playing the fool. Eleanor chuckles. "Always. It keeps the wolves relaxed. You've got the evidence? Every signature, every whisper, it's all here." Eleanor pulls a napkin from her pocket, folded carefully. Inside, scribbled in neat, small handwriting, "Trust B3 remains valid. Hale Holdings intact." June takes it, sliding it into her sleeve with the grace of a spy from another era. June leans closer, her voice barely above a breath. "If they want war?" Eleanor finishes, smiling faintly. "We'll give them paperwork." The two women exchange a look. Not of friendship, but of shared vengeance. Decades of watching men and children underestimate them. Decades of being spoken over, replaced, discarded. Tonight, that ends. Later that night, Eleanor sits by the window, the city lights faint through the mist. She replays the day's recordings on her laptop, the voice of her daughter cutting through the static. "Laura, yes, move it to the new account. She won't notice. Just make it under my husband's business." "Bank officer, are you authorized?" "Laura, she's my mother. She doesn't even know what day it is." Eleanor pauses, her jaw tightening. She saves the file under a new folder name, Inheritance Theft. For a moment, her hand trembles on the mouse, but only once. Then it steadies. "You shouldn't have underestimated the woman who taught you greed," she whispers. As she sits there, the glow of the screen reflecting in her eyes, her thoughts drift back to years earlier, the night her husband Henry confessed everything. He had been sitting at his desk, head in his hands, the weight of betrayal heavy on his shoulders. "Eleanor," he said quietly, "it's gone. Everything. My partner, he's siphoned the accounts. The company's collapsing." Eleanor didn't cry. She stood there, tall and deliberate. "If you can't protect our name, I will," she said. Henry looked at her, broken. "How?" She smiled, not cruelly, but with the clarity of a woman who had already decided her fate. "By rewriting the game." That night, she began creating a new trust, sealed under her own name, hidden beneath corporate shells, layers of legal silence that even the shrewdest men would never suspect. She protected every asset, every property, every account. Henry didn't live long enough to see how powerful that decision will become, but now it's saving her again. Back in the present, Eleanor sits at her desk typing an email with slow precision. To Mr. Thomas Caldwell, ESQ. Subject, immediate action, confidential. Evidence attached. Proceed with freeze order. Do not alert them until I confirm. She attaches the recordings, the purse footage, Laura's transaction screenshots. Then she hits send. Her hand steady as stone. A few seconds later, the confirmation pings. Message sent. Eleanor stares at the screen, her reflection faint in the glass. For a long moment, she says nothing, and then whispers, "The storm begins." 2 days later, she sits in the nursing home garden at sunset, beside another resident, Mrs. Penrose, a retired teacher known for her blunt honesty. The garden smells of lavender and soil. "You keep too much inside, dear," Penrose says, breaking the silence. Eleanor smiles faintly. Some truths lose power when spoken. Penrose shakes her head, and some fester when buried. Eleanor looks at the setting sun, its golden edge fading into gray. "I once believed silence was dignity," she says. "Now I know it's just another cage." Penrose takes her hand gently. "Then break it before it buries you too." Eleanor's eyes glisten. "I plan to."
That night, when the halls grow quiet and the nurses dim the lights, Eleanor retrieves an old brooch from her drawer, its clasp hiding a tiny key. She slips it into her pocket and makes her way down the corridor. The basement is colder, the air heavy with dust and memory. She moves slowly, deliberately, past the old storage rooms until she finds the door she's been dreaming of. Restricted access, Hale Foundation. Her hand doesn't shake as she inserts the key. It clicks open with a satisfying sound, the sound of history remembering its owner. Inside are shelves of old ledgers, sealed boxes, and legal binders, the bones of the empire she built with her husband. She runs her hand along the spines until one file catches her eye. Hale Foundation ownership, active status. Eleanor M. Hale. She pulls it out and opens it, her breath catching slightly. Every document, every transfer, every signature. Hers. Still valid, still active. They thought they buried my power, she murmurs, but it's been alive all along. The next morning, Eleanor calls Laura. Her voice is warm, gentle, the kind tone that disarms even a snake. "Sweetheart," she says softly, "I'd like to talk. No lawyers, no anger, just family." Laura sounds wary. "What's this about?" "Closure," Eleanor replies. "Come by tomorrow, both of you." When she hangs up, she turns to Clara, the nurse who's become more than staff, a quiet ally. "Make sure the conference room is ready. And the system?" Eleanor asks. Clara nods. "Recording, ma'am. Every word." The following day,
Laura and her husband Daniel arrive, dripping arrogance like cologne. They stride into the room dressed in tailored clothes and empty hearts. "So, Mother," Laura says sweetly, sitting down, "ready to make peace?" "Always, dear," Eleanor answers with that dangerous calm. They sip coffee, pretending civility. Eleanor watches their every glance, every impatient sigh. Laura leans forward, crossing her legs. "Let's not drag this out. You should sign over the remaining shares, Mother. You're not well enough to handle your affairs." Daniel adds, "It's for your own good." Eleanor tilts her head, feigning confusion. "My good?" Laura nods. "Yes, you've had your time. Let us take care of things now." Eleanor's smile fades. "You already have, haven't you? My home? My accounts? My name?" Daniel laughs quietly. "You should be grateful we're still visiting." For a moment, silence sits heavy in the air. Then Eleanor speaks, slowly, deliberately. "This home," she says softly, "is all I have left, and everything you'll lose." Before either of them can respond, the door opens quietly. Thomas Caldwell steps in, crisp suit, calm expression, followed by a court officer carrying a thick folder. "Mrs. Hale, as per your request, the documents have been filed." He turns to Laura and Daniel, his tone professional and final. "You are hereby notified that your accounts, properties, and transactions under the Hale Trust are now frozen pending investigation of fraud and misappropriation." The words fall like thunder. Laura's face drains of color. What are you talking about?" Eleanor meets her eyes. "You wanted my signature, dear. Well, you've got it, on your downfall." Daniel stands abruptly. "You can't do this." Eleanor interrupts, her voice quiet but unshakable. "I already have." The silence that follows is sacred, the kind that only truth can create. The staff outside watches through the glass, their respect quiet but palpable. Laura grabs her bag, the very purse that betrayed her, and storms out, followed by Daniel's curses. When the doors close, Eleanor exhales slowly. For the first time, Willow Creek doesn't feel like a cage. It feels like a fortress she commands. She turns to Caldwell. "Let the silence end." He nods, almost smiling. "It already has, Mrs. Hale." And for the first time in years, Eleanor Hale feels what true power tastes like. Not loud, not showy. Quiet, controlled, complete. The echo of the confrontation still lingers in the air long after Laura and Daniel storm out of the room. The coffee cups tremble slightly on their saucers, the scent of anger and perfume still heavy. Eleanor remains seated, hands resting calmly on her lap. Her pulse is steady, her face unreadable, but inside her chest, the storm has already passed. Outside in the corridor, the staff whisper among themselves. Even those who have seen decades of families at war know they've just witnessed something extraordinary, a matriarch reclaiming her crown. The shock. Hours later, in a sleek suburban house filled with hollow modern art, Laura stands trembling over the thick envelope Caldwell's career just delivered. She rips it open, the legal language staring back like a mirror to her own greed. All assets pertaining to the Hale Trust, including subsidiaries and personal holdings, are hereby frozen pending investigation of financial misconduct. Her husband reads over her shoulder, his jaw tightening. This can't be right. She's senile. We'll contest this. Laura's voice cracks. Contest of what, Daniel? Every account's under her name, every property, even the house we live in. She flips through the documents, the pages shaking in her manicured hands. Her face drains of color. Every payment, she whispers, every car, every trip, came from her company. Daniel throws the papers onto the table. She's playing you. She can't keep it up. She'll die soon. And then Laura cuts him off, slamming her hand down. She's not dying. She's winning. For the first time in years, the mirror in front of her doesn't reflect beauty or control. It reflects fear. Eleanor's reflection. Back in Willow Creek, Eleanor sits by her window again. The night outside is soft, alive with crickets and the faint hum of streetlights. She holds a small recorder in her palm. One last message, not to capture others, but to capture herself. Eleanor. Betrayal doesn't sting because of what's taken. It hurts because of who does the taking. She pauses, glancing at a framed photograph of Henry, her late husband. Eleanor. They think age makes you weaker, but it only makes you quieter, and they mistake quiet for surrender. Her voice grows faint but resolute. They've never understood that silence is my battlefield. She stops the recording, sets it down beside the photograph, and closes her eyes. The flashback. The memory comes uninvited, warm yet sharp. It's 20 years ago, the Hale mansion, sunlight spilling through tall windows. Henry stands on the balcony, the empire at its height, the world at their feet. But that night, while he's asleep, Eleanor sits by the study table, papers scattered, her pen moving quickly. Her lawyer at the time, Caldwell's mentor, sits across from her. He asks quietly, Mrs. Hale, are you certain you're moving every asset into a private trust, your name alone? Eleanor doesn't hesitate. I built this family's backbone when Henry was out winning smiles. I'll make sure it doesn't break when he's gone. The lawyer studies her almost in awe. You understand this means your children won't automatically inherit. I understand perfectly. Let them earn it. Her signature slides across the page like a sword through silk, and with that ink, she unknowingly saved her future self. The explanation. In the present, Caldwell returns to Willow Creek the next morning, carrying a briefcase that now holds peace rather than war. He sits across from Eleanor in the reading lounge, sunlight falling on the worn leather of his chair. Caldwell. It's done. The Hale Foundation, the estates, the investment accounts, all revert to the primary trust under your ownership. You're the sole trustee. They can't touch a penny. Eleanor nods slowly. And the investigation? It's already in motion. Fraud, coercion, and misrepresentation. The recordings and purse footage sealed it. He leans forward slightly. You understand, Mrs. Hale, you've just dismantled your children's empire. Eleanor looks toward the garden where the wind stirs the roses. No, she says softly. I've rebuilt my dignity. The realization. Meanwhile, Laura sits slumped at her marble kitchen island, staring blankly at the same words over and over. Ownership. Eleanor M. Hale. The room spins with her husband's angry muttering, lawyers on the phone, emails flooding in. Each notification feels like a nail sealing her illusions shut. She whispers to herself, voice small, childlike, all this time, every penny came from her. Daniel shouts into his phone, pacing, We'll appeal, we'll claim she was manipulated. Laura cuts him off again, tears streaking her makeup. By who, Daniel? By herself? She was 5 steps ahead while we were busy stealing crumbs. The weight of truth finally crushes her, heavier than guilt, heavier than greed. She collapses into the nearest chair, staring at nothing. The collapse. 2 days later, they return to the facility, not with arrogance this time, but desperation. They find Eleanor in the lounge, sipping tea, reading a worn novel. Laura approaches hesitantly. Mother, please, we made mistakes. We can fix this, just release the accounts. Eleanor doesn't look up. Release them? To thieves who called me a burden? Laura kneels beside her chair, clutching her hand. We're still your children. Eleanor finally looks at her, eyes cold, but not cruel. And I was still your mother when you stole from me. Daniel steps forward. She's right, we shouldn't have. Eleanor's gaze silences him. Don't rewrite your sins into apologies. Laura breaks into sobs. We were scared. We thought you'd cut us off. You did that yourself, Eleanor says, standing slowly, with every lie you told in my name. Her voice lowers, heavy with truth.
I warned you once that greed eats more than gold. It eats souls. The room goes still. Even the ticking clock seems to hold its breath. The quiet victory. Word spreads through Willow Creek. The residents, usually silent witnesses to one another's slow decline, now whisper like children. Eleanor Hale, the quiet widow, had brought her family to justice. When she walks the corridors now, heads turn, not out of pity, but admiration. An old man with a trembling hand salutes her softly. A nurse smiles as she passes. And in the garden, Mrs. Penrose murmurs, "You broke the cage, dear." Eleanor smiles faintly, yes, and the world looks different outside the bars. The gift. The next week, Caldwell visits again, but this time the air between them is lighter. He hands her a pen and a new document. The trust has been revised. You may decide what to do with the surplus assets. Eleanor signs the final page, calm and unhurried. Then she says, "Divide a portion of the estate into scholarships, in Henry's name, for women who start with nothing but an idea." Caldwell smiles. "Your children won't like that." Eleanor's eyes glint. "Then I'll know it was the right decision." Laura's calls go unanswered. Her messages, apologies wrapped in excuses, remain unread. The same purse that recorded her betrayal now sits in Eleanor's drawer, silent and empty. The dinner with June. One evening, June visits again. The two friends dine together in the small courtyard, candles flickering against the twilight. June cuts into her meal, eyeing Eleanor. "You look lighter." Eleanor chuckles softly. "Lighter or lonelier?" June says both, but peace weighs less than regret. They eat in silence. Crickets hum beyond the walls. Eleanor breaks it first. "You ever wonder if love and strength can live in the same body?" June smiles gently. "They can, but one usually arrives late." Eleanor nods, eyes distant. "Henry loved loudly. I loved quietly. Turns out, quiet lasts longer." They raise their glasses. June toasts softly. 2 quiet victories. Eleanor smiles. "And to women who refuse to disappear." The letter. Later that night, in her room, Eleanor sits at her desk with a fountain pen and crisp paper. The window is open, the moon casting a faint silver light. She begins to write, not to her children, but to her husband. "My dearest Henry, I did what you couldn't. Not out of spite, but out of love for the life we built, for the name you carried, for the silence you left me in. You were right about one thing. People show their truth when money whispers. Our children did. But I've made peace with that. They're part of the storm that shaped me. You once told me our home would outlive us. You were wrong. It wasn't the house, it was me. If souls do meet again, I hope you'll recognize mine. I'll be the one walking away from the noise, carrying peace like a crown. Yours, always, Eleanor." She folds the letter neatly and places it inside the old photo frame, behind their wedding picture. The departure. A few mornings later, Laura and Daniel arrive one last time. No lawyers, no arrogance, just silence. Eleanor doesn't rise to greet them. She doesn't need to. Laura whispers, "We're leaving the city. We wanted to say goodbye." Eleanor nods once. "Goodbye then." They stand there waiting for something more, forgiveness maybe, but it never comes. Some apologies don't deserve answers. As they turn to go, the nurse Clara quietly closes the door behind them. The sound of it echoes through the hall like the final page of a long book shutting. The closure. That evening, Eleanor walks through the halls of Willow Creek, the sunset spilling golden light across the polished floors. The staff greet her as they always do now, with quiet respect. She pauses at the end of the corridor, looking at the portraits of donors and founders. Among them, her husband's photo smiles back at her. She whispers softly, "They laughed when I moved in here, said I'd lost everything." A faint smile touches her lips. But they forgot. This was always my home. The wind outside rustles through the garden trees, carrying her words into the evening. Inside, the lights dim and the silence that once felt like a cage now feels like peace. Earned, complete, unbreakable. And for the first time in decades, Eleanor Hale truly rests. Not because the fight is over, but because she finally remembers who she has always been.